At this rate, we're nowhere to up there.
Okay, fine. Do I bring my flash drive down for my top hat? So now I'm just stuck carrying everything around, but.
They spread us out.
Well, Aaron's very was drinking her diet Coke.
Right.
Yeah. You can bring it with you. No one's gonna care. I will care and that's a. The store, the paper. Battery.
Jason.
You're right.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Hi, Marcy, nice to meet you.
Hey, good to see you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Or condolences, I'm
Yeah.
not sure which, right? Isn't that how that goes?
Well, I was calling it demotion.
What would change? Oh,
What's
the name of your presentation?
I don't know.
Okay.
I called it practical tips, but you can call it anything you want to. It's
Fine.
You could call
I
it,
feel like we had changed the name.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what's on the title. Can't remember even what's on the title slide. Might be practical tips.
It's gonna be something.
Yeah, it's gonna be something.
It's gonna be great.
It says APDS. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think this is for the next week. I sat down and this was there, but like just got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I wanted to do some thoughts and you can introduce you and then you want to start with Darren and I'll go. Cool.
It's fine, this
Okay.
worksheet is in.
Euro to you activate it.
I know, I feel like we went back and forth like email about this at all. I didn't know what we were about. You can like that. Perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, sure.
She's good.
It's like, I would be surprised if you knew what kind
Yeah.
of. We're doing great. so
Oh,
far.
really?
It's gonna be a good day.
They were- Probably having some questions.
Oh,
We're
very
killing it.
different,
We're
yeah.
killing it. Yeah.
So, good morning, everyone. I know we're a minute ahead, but I'll just go ahead and make a few announcements. Welcome to day 2. We'll call this the Conclave Day since we'll be here all day. We'll be here all day until we know everything about surgical education. We'll see what kind of smoke comes out at the end of the day. But welcome to day 2. Super excited to have you all enjoy the highlights of today, not only this morning's breakfast panel with their practical tips for those of you, especially on the front lines, and hopefully we'll learn a tremendous amount from them. We've got our workshops this afternoon. As I mentioned, everything is both live streamed as well as recorded. However, the workshops are not live streamed. We'll have 2 of them that are, but the remainder are being recorded. So we recognize that there are a multitude of workshops that you're going to want to participate in. If you want to have an opportunity to be able to participate in one and then be able to observe some of the others or look back on them, then you'll have that opportunity later. That'll all be available in the app. And so one of the nice things about the app is its easy accessibility to the video content. So please do take advantage of that. This evening at the end of our conclave day here, we will have at 5:30, we'll have the presentation of awards as well as the very brief APDS membership meeting that's going to be followed by the joint reception with the ASE. They've been spectacular partners this year in setting up the meeting, especially Dr. Nabil Isa and his program committee and Dr. Shabahang and as the president of the ASE have been incredibly collaborative. And so as we transition tomorrow into the ASE meeting, we will kind of have a preview of that with the reception prior tonight. So please take advantage of that. And don't forget to claim your CME credits for those of you who will be doing that. You can do that right out of the app, but that will be, those are due by June 24th. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our esteemed moderators to get started with the breakfast panel. We're excited to see many of you here bright and early. So thank you. And thanks both to Marcy and Jason.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Marcy Feynman. I am the Program Director and Associate DIO at Sinai Hospital, Baltimore, and I will be one of your tour guides this morning.
And I am Jason Lees. I'm, as they say, a recovering program director of 13 years at the University of Oklahoma and now in the DIO role there. So welcome, everyone, and thank you.
Sorry. Okay, this is a great morning because we have a ton of like really awesome experts up here who are going to tell you all about their specific area. We'll save questions for the end so they can all get through their talks. But first, we'd like to invite up Dr. Karen Brazel, who is the Vice President of the American Board of Surgery and Professor of Surgery for the Division of Trauma and Acute Care Surgery at Oregon Health and Science University. She's going to be talking to us about kind of practical tips for EPAs to get to certification.
Marcy and I were just joking. I couldn't actually remember what I titled my talk this morning because I wanted to really think about giving some practical tips and thinking about the on-ramp to 2028 and beyond, when EPAs are going to be required for admissibility to the certification pathways, or admissibility to that first step being the qualifying exam. And as I referenced yesterday, we deliberately built this with a very long on-ramp. That's going to turn out to be the right decision or the wrong decision, but that is where we are living now. And the information that we are gathering is informing what that will ultimately look like. The first practical tip is somewhat related to EPAs, and that has to do, and I did show this slide yesterday. We think that the increasing trend of PGY4s applying to the qualifying exam meshes completely with competency-based education. And if you can think of a future well beyond 2028, when many more in the room will be recovering program directors, but the exciting possibility of competency-based education, moving the qualifying exam earlier in the education process makes sense because it allows some innovation after residents become practice ready using entrustment language. I'm going to stop and say and emphasize, we are not there yet. Please do not misinterpret that thinking well beyond 2028 is I'm saying that we're going to shorten residency or change that is not where we are now, but it is a natural thought experiment beyond. And if this is successful, there are some exciting innovation things to think about. And having the qualifying exam earlier in the training process is something practical that we can do, and the mechanisms are already there. And we are very encouraged by this trend. I'm going to spend the next bit of time talking about what will be required in 2028 and how to use what you are doing now to get there. There's been some misconception that the data that are collected, those formative assessments, could somehow be transmitted through an API or some other technical voodoo to the ABS, and then we would be able to know whether your residents would be admissible to the qualifying exam. That might or might not be technically possible, but that's not the way this is going to work. And every time I get up and talk about this, I emphasize We don't have those individual microassessments. We don't want those individual microassessments. Those are formative assessments to help you and to help the residents move through the stages of entrustment. However, we do believe that they will be incredibly helpful to your CCCs, particularly as you gather more and more and more of those. So a way to provide you tools to make those CCC discussions more efficient. We think that's a practical thing that we can do. And then your CCCs can make some entrustment decisions based on all of the formative data you have on each resident. And those summative entrustment decisions that are made on a yearly or semi-annual basis, the last one of those will be what the residents will submit as part of their application profile to the qualifying exam. So this is the worksheet, and each EPA with each of the phases comes down the left, the first two columns to the left. And then to the right two most columns are the number of assessments and the number of faculty raters. That information is information that is available on the dashboard. And Dr. George and I had a conversation yesterday that getting that information in a way that you can run a report so that that information, while not able to be transferred automatically, would be in an easy to use form that you could then put on this worksheet and then have these be able to make the summative entrustment decisions for each resident. It may be that during a 6-month period, you don't have any formative microassessments on a particular resident. And so you would enter 0 and the number of faculty raters would be 0. The reason the number of faculty raters is important is the more variability that you have in the number of faculty, the more confident the CCC can be in coming to a decision about summative entrustment. The formative assessment entrustments will start to coalesce around a particular level of entrustment. So I've been asked the question, what does the board want with this worksheet? We're not going to look and see if you filled it out. You're not going to turn it into us. This is our best first attempt at a tool to help you and hopefully give you some value back from the work that you've been doing with CCCs to, again, help make your work you've been doing with the EPAs to help make your CCCs more efficient and position you to be able to provide the EPA profile that will be required in 2028. Again, in 2028, the summative entrustment for your residents might look like direct supervision, indirect supervision, practice ready, 1 assessment, 5 assessments, 2 faculty raters. The profile will be what's required, not any benchmark. The requirements or the benchmarks will come after 2028 as we start to see these data come in. We will likely start to ask for these data in other circumstances. The summative entrustment data with the number of assessments and faculty raters, potentially when you request training waivers, so that we can start again to see what those data and what the profiles are to help inform our decisions about what the requirements might be. These are the QR codes for the EPA worksheet. Both the actual worksheet and the worksheet instructions, and then a link down at the bottom for our EPA resources. We have recently redesigned the EPA website with the resources available. And if anybody is interested in providing feedback on that website, please stop out and see Hannah or Barb, who are at the ABS booth, because we are looking for some people to participate in focus groups to help make that website as functional for all of you as it can be. I am gonna, some other practical things put in here, some videos and illustrations, again, trying to make the curricular part of competency-based education more and more functional for you and for your residents. These are just two of the newer things. And again, linking between the assessments and the curriculum, we think that having the banners, including the EPA banners, and being able to toggle back and forth is something that will be a practical thing for your learners. I will say, if you are worried about time, please document competence. This, again, is not a promise that competence is, we are ready to use competence as a proxy for time. But the more data that we accrue about competence and its relationship to time, the more we will be able to make some data-informed decisions. So that's all I have, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Next, from the American College of Surgeons, we have Dr. Patrice Gabler-Blair speaking on their resources and offerings. Thank you.
Good morning. My thanks to the APDS leadership and the program committee for the opportunity to present to you this morning. I have no conflicts to disclose except that I'm a full-time staff member of the ACS. This morning, I'm going to try to focus my comments on the initiatives that have practical applications for program directors. So I'll start with the Fundamentals of Surgery curriculum and its new parallel program for senior level residents, which we call COGSIM. I'll spend most of my time on ERA and SARA, which are formative assessments of decision-making. And then I'll spend a little bit of time on the last three, OASIS, another formative assessment, and the Core General Surgery Review, and a little bit about CSAP. So most of you have probably heard about the Fundamentals of Surgery curriculum. It's simulated case scenarios, and the residents are asked to recognize and assess symptoms and signs, order appropriate tests and procedures, evaluate data, and initiate appropriate actions. They receive immediate feedback after each choice that they make, and you may have heard about the color coding that goes along with the feedback. So green, red, and yellow colors to indicate the appropriateness of the choice. Many programs enroll their residents just as soon as they've been matched, so that the medical students can start working through the cases and have many of them under their belts before they actually arrive for orientation. And so this program, ACS FSC, also comes with progress reports. So you as a PD or administrator can look and see the scenarios that have been completed, the modules that have been completed, and the self-assessment tools that have been completed. Then ACS Cognitive Simulations, Cases Essential to Surgical Practice, is the new parallel program for senior level residents, and we call it COGSIM. It's the same simulated case scenarios, except they address the more complex situations that PGY 3s, 4s, and 5s have find themselves in. They do include conditions related to the 18 APAs, and as I mentioned, they are available for PGYs 3, 4s, and 5s, and it's up to you as a program director to decide who would get the cases so that you can coordinate those cases with their residency rotations and those schedules. And progress reports are available for COGSIM as well. Now, for ACS ERA, Entering Resident Readiness Assessment. This is a formative assessment of clinical decision-making. It's not an assessment of knowledge. You need the knowledge to make appropriate decisions, but this is an assessment of the actual decisions themselves. It's based on the key features approach established by George Bordage, And the key features approach is a specific way of writing the questions that focuses on areas that are prone to errors, it really focuses on the critical next steps in terms of identifying problems and managing problems in patient care. And so the key features approach has been shown to be psychometrically rigorous, and it allows us to have broad content coverage in a shorter amount of time. And you can see the psychometrics there that we've had for error for about 5 years now, and they're very stable and quite good. So what is it about? How does it work? So the residents spend about 3 hours at the computer, usually during orientation week. We schedule it with the programs based on your preferences. This is not a multiple choice exam. So it has 40 case scenarios, and after each case scenario, there's a series of questions. The questions might be short answer, where they actually type in their responses. So for example, what are your top 3 differential diagnoses in this situation? And another type of question is called short menu. It's really like a list of 15 to 20 items, and you are asked to choose the top 5 that you would do. And so that's the format of the questions. So what do you get? At the end of July, you receive score reports. And for each of the 20 topic areas, you see there's 20 topic areas, and we accounted that the critical decisions being made. It assesses 140 different critical decisions in less than 3 hours. So what do you get? In July, you get a score report that gives the following. For each of the 20 clinical areas, you get the list of potential harmful actions that were taken by each resident. So maybe they were overly aggressive in terms of a resuscitation. And you get the percent of decisions that were made correctly for each topic area. So as a PD, you can see how your entering cohort has done. You can make decisions about things that might need immediate attention or things that are basically okay. You also get individual resident reports, and you get national benchmarking data that compares your program with the programs that took the era that same year. So for example, in 2024, you would see that the lowest percent correct decisions were made in respiratory compromise. So the change in respiratory rate received a national mean score of 40% correct decisions. The highest score was for somnolence, and 78% of the decisions were made correctly for that. Overall, the national mean for correct percentage of correct decisions runs about 63, and that's been fairly consistent across the past 5 years. So the residents get individual reports too. They see those data. They also get templates for learning plans so that you as PDs can ask your residents to go ahead and use the template to draft a learning plan to address the areas of strength and areas of opportunities for improvement. And those learning plans and the information you get are mapped to the ACS Fundamentals of Surgery curriculum modules. So if there's a specific area of weakness, you can refer them straight to that module or that clinical scenario to help them address any areas of concern. So over the past 5 years or so, over 5,250 residents have across 188 programs have completed ERA, and the psychometrics are stable and they're quite high, quite good. So given the success of ERA, we decided to go ahead and create a similar assessment for senior level residents. And so you can see here that it was a blueprint was developed and pilot tested, and the reliability, the psychometrics are good. And so SARA is basically the same as ERA. The plan is to launch it in September. And the specific idea was that this would be offered at the beginning of PGY4 to allow plenty of time to address any areas that might warrant additional study and additional work. So it's the exact same format. The content, of course, is different. You can see there's 27 topics with SARA. You'll still get individual results, benchmark with national data, and the results will be mapped to the ACS COGSIM cases. And so this will be available for enrollment in June, and it will be administered in September. And given all this, all these programs, I thought it might be helpful to just see sort of how the progression might work and how how they might be synergistic. So if you provide your residents with ACS Fundamentals of Surgery curriculum, they have the clinical scenarios coming into orientation. You use ERA to assess decision-making at orientation, and then use ACS Fundamentals of Surgery to address any areas of deficiency. Same thing with CogSim and SARA. So they get the CogSim cases in PGY 3 or 4. You can get the assessment of clinical decision-making skills with SARA at the beginning of PGY 4, and then that maps back to those CogSim cases for areas that might need additional study. Okay, so ACS OASIS, Objective Assessment of Skills in Surgery. This is another formative assessment. It is OSATs for 8 stations designed to be administered at the end of PGY2. The idea was to provide programs with a low-cost formative assessment. And so we basically provide everything you need to do it. We provide the instructions for you to build the simulator, so lists of materials, videos, instructions. We provide the checklists for the faculty to use for the assessment, including checklists of 5 to 15 items and a global assessment. And basically sort of a OSATs in a box, if you will. We've done the psychometric testing on this. Those results were published a couple years ago. And so we will provide national benchmarking data for OASIS as well. So if you're interested in enrolling in OASIS, the time is right now. And it will be administered a little bit late this year. It'll normally be administered in May, April, and June. No, that's wrong. March, April, and May. Normally this year it's a little bit later, so it'll be administered in July and August, but you'll have results in September. Okay. ACS Core General Surgery Review for Residents is covers the essential content areas. It's basically a summation of concepts. It was released in February. It has 22 hours of content, 64 sessions of 15 to 20 minutes each. It's online, self-paced. You can download the slides. You can do it as many times as you want, pre-tests, post-tests. It is available through February of 2027. And finally, just a word about CSAP in case you don't know. There's a couple features that are of interest to residents. With CSAP 18, you can now develop personalized quizzes. So these customized quizzes allow the residents to say, okay, I want to have 20 questions. I want to include these categories, maybe 1 category, maybe 3 categories. I want it to choose the questions that I got wrong only, or I want both questions I got right and questions I got wrong. And it'll run the quiz for you. You get your score, you get your feedback, and you can save those criteria and reuse them, because every time the computer will randomize the question's choice, and you get the score reports. The residents can also generate score reports for you, the PDs, and send them to you so that you see the progress being made. So this morning I focused on the initiatives that provide specific opportunities to identify and monitor the learning needs and the strengths of residents based on objective data. These data can be used in assessing residents' progress and for structuring future learning activities. And the programs may foster lifelong learning principles and values in the residents that will serve them and their patients well throughout their careers. Thank you for the privilege of the floor and the opportunity to participate in the APDS program, and for the many hours of collaboration across organizations without which these programs would not be possible. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Dr. Yaron Hugh, who's a pediatric surgeon and associate program director of the general surgery residency program at Northwestern. She's co-principal investigator of the number trials, and she's here to talk to us about the 2nd and 3rd trial today.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. We just have some updates for you. We are grateful for the support from the ACGME and the ACS, as well as for collaboration from many of the people and organizations in this room. Just to remind everybody, Our mission is to conduct rigorous science that informs pressing surgical education issues, to help innovate educational policy and practice, and to provide a platform for collaborative research. Updates, second trial finished its randomization in 2023, and that was our final measurement at that ABSITE survey. Um, we found that among our programs, those randomized to intervention, 70% of those PDs found our reports helpful. Most of those shared it with their residents, and they did a median of 16 interventions per year per program. A little preview into our results. Those who were randomized to intervention did see about a 13% reduction in burnout rate. When we then conducted an analysis to control for adherence, so programs, when we removed programs in intervention that didn't do very many interventions, and we removed programs in control that did a lot of interventions, that reduction went up to 19%. And when we did an analysis to try to extrapolate to programs that did not initially enroll in the trial, we saw a reduction of about 26%. After that final measurement in 2023, we expanded the intervention and made it available to the control arm. So now the entire enrollment population of 207 programs gets reports based on their post-ABSITE data. The Wellness Toolkit, which is an online compendium of resident resources, is now open access. And we are continuing to provide implementation support. So for those interested, we have a workshop today at 1 p.m. to talk about some of the things our most successful programs did. And after so this is a graph showing burnout over time. You can see through the pandemic, it was increasing. And then after we released the results or the intervention to both arms, we saw our first decrease. Finally, in the last couple years, we have done a sort of deep dive into the context around what happened at these programs. And so we've been interviewing PDs and other leadership at these programs to understand how they did what they did. Third trial, as you all heard last year at this session, it will be another pragmatic cluster randomized controlled trial, and this time with a departmental focus. So it is for faculty as well as residents. We are focusing on well-being and work engagement, again, for both populations. Again, for both, for people who were here last year and people who've received our emails over the last year, you'll notice that we had been a trial focused on DEI. And given the current environment, and we understand that many programs are facing constraints on their ability to participate in this trial. So we are pivoting to try to allow everybody to participate. And so again, CENT will focus on well-being and engagement of both faculty and residents. That said, I know many of us care deeply about that work. And so I, as a entity separate from CENT, continue to do collaborative research on those issues. And so if people are interested in participating or interested in resources, that's something I could provide separate from the CENT organization. Okay, so for third, we enrolled 125 departments over the last year. We piloted a faculty survey along with the ACGME. Just a reminder about that process. It goes to general surgery only. ACGME sends your faculty an email, however, with a survey link. However, they have no access to the results, and therefore there is no risk to accreditation. Our overall response rates for that survey conducted last fall are better than average, I would say, for a typical physician survey. And we are interested in feedback about that if people would like to give it. What we are working on now is analytics of that data, as well as refinement of the survey in the future. We are collecting intervention ideas from various surgical departments and other fields on well-being. And coming soon, we'll be randomizing our departments and sending you your first reports. We are always looking for surgical research fellows. So that is a 2-year commitment and opportunity for doing research. They usually get some sort of master's in either education or health services research, and they get to work with our fabulous team. So please, if anybody has thoughts, questions, concerns, feedback, please email us at these addresses. Thank you very much.
There, okay, sorry. I clearly wouldn't pass the EPAs on using a microphone. The next speaker we have is Dr. Eric Holmbo. He's President and Chief Executive Officer of InnaHealth. Dr. Holmbo helps set the strategic plan for InnaHealth, an integrated nonprofit organization and its divisions, including the ECFMG and FAMER. He will be joining us virtually. I'm glad the Zoom issues I have at work are that don't only exist there, so. Yeah. So if anyone would like to ask any questions of those on the panel, please come to the microphone nearest you. All right, in the back left to us.
Hello?
Yeah.
AJ Jane, Oklahoma. I had kind of a comment and a question about some of the learning materials that we're doing.
Can you get a little bit closer? I think
Oh, yeah, sure.
people from Oklahoma don't use microphones well, AJ.
One of the things that I asked all my residents is, what's your learning plan? And it seems like this generation mainly, they like to use podcasts like the Behind the Knife, and they also use the SCORE curriculum. And they say that when I'm on a rotation, I, do the SCORE questions in real time as opposed to doing kind of a background, reading a textbook or going through something. And, the problem with that is like not everyone's going to encounter a McVeigh repair or something like that on the course of their rotation. Are there materials, are you guys working on, didactic materials not meant to be done for self-assessment or in real time, but ones that are, parsable and something that is delivered in the way that the current resident pool likes to access information? I mean, I've been trying to send PowerPoints after M&M that give context as opposed to just an answer to a question and things. Can you comment on that?
Anyone want to take that?
I think that it was a little hard to hear the question, but the SCORE is working on, and that I think is one of the advantages of the app, being able to deliver content in short bites that is specifically relevant to what the resident and forecasting into the future, the faculty are working on at that point in time, or the case that they are doing together at that time. And I think that's the flipping back and forth between what the resident is doing in real time and being able to get support from the curricular standpoint as well as the assessment standpoint. You're starting to see that now. That is why I highlighted that feature in SCORE, and that is will be deliverable in the app. And that is in the SCORE strategic plan. So yes, that we are working on that.
Okay, we'll go front left corner next.
And if I could add, yeah. So I mentioned briefly the ACS Core General Surgery Review course. So those are 15-minute modules. It's not podcasts, I understand, but they're 15-minute modules, and they can take them in any order, and they can revisit them as much as they want. Also, CSAP 19 will be on an app, so that might be expeditious from the resident perspective as well. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, sorry. Sarah Fox from Novant Health in Wilmington, North Carolina. I had a question about the ERA program. For, is it inappropriate if you have some PGY ones who are really struggling with decision-making and kind of that information synthesis, to have them do that test with the incoming interns to kind of assess where they are and how to better support them if they did not take it when they entered?
I think the question was if they took ERA as an incoming intern and then still struggled intern year, can they redo it? Like with the incoming intern?
Take it
class?
later. Wasn't sure whether it was take it with someone else or just retake it later, like a year later.
Either retake it later, or if they did not take it as an incoming intern and you're gonna start using the program in the upcoming year, could your PGY ones who are already existing take it with the incoming PGY ones?
Talk to us. We'd be happy to try to work something out with you.
Okay,
Sure thing.
thank you.
Just let us know.
Thank you. Back to the right of me.
Hi, Tiffany Tanner from the University of Nebraska. My question is primarily for Dr. Brazel in regards to EPAs. Has the board given any consideration? I know that simple microassessments and EPA microassessments are different. For instance, for a breast EPA interop, it's just for all of breast combined. However, for simple EPAs, you have lumpectomy or mastectomy. I really appreciate, I think it's good feedback for our residents to be able to get the specificity to say, you can complete a lumpectomy with reliability, but you have not yet achieved that for mastectomy. Have they given any consideration to basically be given credit, to your point, to be taken in consideration the data that we collect from Simple to help guide the entrustments that we are going to be making for our residents in the CCC?
So I think for those programs that have the opportunity to have access to more what I would consider more granular data from Simple OR to what I would say include that information in the entrustment. I think that is why it is not a one-to-one move over, because we know there are other factors that the CCC has information about that should go into that entrustment decision. So there isn't any way that we don't have access to those data, and not all programs do, but absolutely I would encourage you to, from a CCC perspective, to include those data in all data that you have that is related to that overall EPA. We're not going to break the EPAs down further, because when a patient, I'll use your breast example, when a patient comes to you with a breast problem, you don't know when they come, and the arc of the EPA includes all patients. So the EPA won't change, but I would absolutely encourage you to use all of the data you have when you are making those summative entrustment decisions.
I completely agree. I encourage our faculty to use those like more broad for, especially in clinic, because to your point, you don't necessarily know the specificity yet, but for the intra-op, I do think it's helpful, and I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone back left to me.
Hi, my name is Ajita Prabhu, and I am here from the Cleveland Clinic. And I would just like to thank Dr. Blair for reviewing many of the offerings that the American College of Surgeons has. I thought it would be, I don't have a question, but I have an announcement for the group, which I thought would be relevant to this group, which is that the college has graciously agreed to support the Residents as Teachers and Leaders Seminar, which is a non-technical skills seminar offered to surgery residents across the country, including all disciplines. As full disclosure, I am faculty there, but we are offering it again in August, and there are still a few spots open. We've taken many of our residents over the year, and they've had a wonderful time teaching, sharing, collaborating, learning non-technical skills around leadership and education of others around them. And so we'd like to thank the college for supporting us in that, and just wanted to let you know that there's still some spots open if you want to send your trainees. Thank you.
Okay, let's go front right. Maybe.
Hello, okay. My name is Kenneth Lee. I'm from Penn. So, I'm sort of struggling with how the EPAs will interface with the board. Like what we're gonna submit is years down the line, but I'm assuming it can't be an aggregate for years because there'll be too much data, it'll be all over the place. But if you only sent a 6-month summary, for instance, residents in our program, they do not do trauma as fifth-year residents. They really don't do much breast as fifth-year residents. So there are gonna be a lot of gaps in that worksheet. And so I don't know, I immediately right now, I think the residents are gonna be saying, what do I need to do right now? Because I'm not gonna do this in 2027.
So, thanks, and I didn't highlight that. It is outlined in the frequently asked questions or the instructions for the worksheets. We know that there are many rotations that residents do maybe earlier in training, and they don't repeat them. Breast is one, trauma, there are others. And if they have not had any EPA micro assessments in that 6-month period, you would carry forward their last summative entrustment. So it's a cumulative over the 5 years. And so if there have not been either any new assessments or any change in entrustment level based on a few assessments that come in, and you had made a summative entrustment decision, let's say about breast, you would carry that forward and it would continue with them throughout their time. That's how the worksheet is designed to work. So it's not, that 6-month is not a snapshot of the last 6 months of residency. It is the summative entrustment profile that they've developed over their entire residency.
I want to thank everyone for being here. I apologize. We have tried to reach Dr. Holmbo and through multiple avenues have not had success, so I apologize about that. Hopefully he's okay. He was traveling in Europe and had said that he'd be able to join us virtually. Had a couple questions. One on the scent trial side of things. Dr. Hugh, do you mind mentioning kind of any of the things that you have noticed best as you've gotten some of the word back about use of the toolkits? I think some of us have kind of perused them and made use of some of the resources, but anything in particular that you all have found that I think are really would be practical uses for many of the programs out there as kind of best use of those and access to them and just kind of underscoring the fact that they are available. I appreciate you mentioning that, kind of made available widely. And then for the college, one of the issues that we have had as a larger program, the costs oftentimes become prohibitive as we've got many, if you start with 20 or 30 interns in your starting class, it becomes really expensive to try to take advantage of all these resources. I don't know if you have any particular recommendations or thoughts about how to try to approach those issues, because frequently a lot of the resources then refer to other resources that end up costing money as well. And so trying to figure out how best to take advantage of the resources without being cost prohibitive. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So again, the toolkit is now open access. You can reach it at toolkit.thesecondtrial.org. There are many things, I'm like, where to start? It sort of depends on what your report looks like. The way the reports are designed is that something in which you notice an opportunity for improvement, you can then search the toolkit for that domain or item. So the best thing for you is going to depend on what your place looks like and what your report looks like. And I'm happy to walk you through that process individually if that's helpful. I can find me after and I'll give you my email address. That said, there are some things that I think I almost universally recommend that are free. One is family orientation, which is something University of Rochester does. One of their points is that how can we expect families to support their residents if they don't understand what residency is? So they have a day where they bring in the families of new interns about a month after the year starts. They onboard them into what life with a resident is like and it gives them some support for each other as well, because now they have a new community of other family members. And they also give them sort of warning signs, so things to look for. And because they've now had this touch point with their program leadership, their they find that people are better able to access them when they're worried about something. So I think it's multiple interventions in one, and it's actually very inexpensive. So that's one good one. But again, it's really specific to each, the other recommendations are really specific to each program, and I'm happy to walk you through that. Was there a question else? Was there another question in there that I missed? Patricia. Yep. Ask about the cost.
So your question was about cost? So I can provide all of the fees. Obviously, we try to make them as cost effective, being sensitive to the limitations of programs, and so we try to price the fees as low as we can. But I think I heard a question about how would you prioritize the various programs? Can you repeat the question?
I think it was for large programs, a prohibitive cost, right?
Yeah, I think it's just that, especially with, like, just when we're trying to take advantage of those resources and the appreciation of the costs, as you've got, certainly if we've got 20 interns, say, and then if it's $250 or $300 a head, it certainly becomes pretty expensive. And then frequently, like, for example, the ERI resources then refer to other resources that cost further money. And so it just becomes, a lot of times when we obviously got very fixed budgets, especially in the current climate, it's incredibly hard for us to be able to just kind of pull a few $1,000s out here and there and everywhere, especially when we're trying to work on things like well-being and other things for our trainees. So.
Yeah, quite understand. And I say we are sensitive to that, and that's why it's more of a buffet, right? You can pick and choose based on the needs of your particular residency. There's certainly been discussions about giving price breaks to people who want to, for example, sign up for fundamentals of surgery curricula and ERA, which are, sort of paired programs. So there's been discussion about giving discounts to multiple packages like that. There's also been discussions about giving a sliding scales so that for particularly large programs, there would be sliding scales to try to account for that. We're certainly open to discussion, so please let us know, talk to us. We want to make it so that it works for you as PDs and your residents. So let us know what you need and what your preferences are, and we will do our best to accommodate them. Thank you.
I had a question for Dr. Brazel. I know you've talked about the slow and thoughtful on-ramp for EPAs and stuff. Do you anticipate a time when there will be minimum numbers, kind of like with minimum numbers of cases and so forth that, will have to be entered before, there's credit given for that?
I do anticipate that there will be a time, and I have heard both from people in this audience. I've heard both that you'd like it to be the minimum, and then you also, in the same breath, please set the number to be high so I can use that as a target for my faculty. So I'm not sure how to take that, other than I really do appreciate all the feedback. As I've said a couple times from the mic, that is, I think, one of the most valuable things for the ABS to be here to get that feedback. I also think it will likely be different for different EPAs and be data informed in that way. And I think you'll hear a little bit about that in the paper session, one of the paper sessions today.
Okay, thank you. Well, as educators, we all like feedback. So anyway, appreciate all the good questions to fill the time, and thank everyone for participating early this morning. And thank for all the panelists as well.
Our next one starts exactly at 8. So if you're going to get up and take a break, that's fine, but try and be back by 8.